Welcome, everybody. Another great episode of Coach's Corner coming up today. I'm really, really excited today. As coaches, we love stories of people that grind and they adapt and they overcome to adversity. And I think today we got a really, really good story. We got Big Steve Prohaska. He is here talking about his book, From Orphans to Millionaire. Okay. He is doing some great things right now. Podcasts out.
Parental
Vision. Working on a TV episode right now that you're looking to.
I'm in the process of trying to sell a TV show, Single Fathers, to get that out in the world. Yes, we got that in the works as well.
Right. Business owner, father, entrepreneur.
Yes, sir.
So we're going to jump right into this right off the rip here. And, I've been following you and I know a little bit about what you've been doing as far as your businesses and everything. And now, obviously, your book is out and, it's starting to gain some wildfire. I haven't read it yet. I'm looking forward to reading it after we speak. But why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and how all of this stuff started to come about for you?
Well, originally I was born in Cali, Colombia. I became an orphan through gun violence. My parents were killed in front of me, and I became an orphan. So I was born in Cali, Colombia, lost my, birth parents to gun violence, became an orphan, and then I was adopted by two doctors that brought me to America. Lived a few years in Trumbull, Connecticut. I was getting acclimated to the new country, new parents. Right. I didn't have to fight for food. I didn't have to fight for sneakers. I was given clothes. Life was still different for me. I had a lot of challenges, realizing my parents weren't the same skin color as me. I had to learn how to speak English, but at the same time, I was thankful and I was blessed. I was going through some hard times as a young child. So what happened was my parents went back to Colombia, adopted another young boy, who's my brother, Mike. Shout out to Mike, my brother, love you. So that him and I could bond and it would be a little bit easier for me for my transition here in America.
So your brother, how old were you when your brother came into your life?
He was about 6, give or take, 5 or 6. A couple years after I was adopted. And then, like I said, we were being raised together. And in my book, From Orphan to Millionaire, you'll see the bond that we got together as young boys, started getting into sports, and basically trying to make my life easier from the transition versus having two boys that were in orphanages that didn't have anything, had no chance at life, really become accustomed to life in America. We were given a great opportunity. Like I said, we were raised by two doctors. Education was top tier. The pressures being raised from two doctors was astronomical. I'm not a doctor myself, but I'm the type of man that I'll figure out a way. And
but obviously, you learned something from their work ethic and obviously what they instilled on you. But in growing up and you're learning to adapt here now, what was that like as you said your parents put a high level standard on you. Now you're in school here. What is that like as you're navigating through that as a young man?
Well, when I first came to school in America, it was really tough for me to make friends because I knew I was an outsider. I did lash out and I did do bad things that hurt my parents because I didn't know how to deal with the change. But that slowly turned into progression once I realized it's okay that I'm different. It's okay that I didn't know the language, but I learned it, and then I became friends with kids in school because they saw me grow into the young little boy that I was in school. And I really came into my own, sort of a speak. But again, I had help with my parents that were both doctors to help steer me in the right direction.
Yeah, you had a good support group there to really put you and guide you.
Yes. I was very blessed.
To really acclimate and do things that we do that parents do to, instill good traits in their children and hope that they can grow up and.
Of course. My father would say certain things to me. My mother would say certain things to me. I went to my father more for certain guidance on certain things. Right. My mother was the disciplinary person in the household. But I did take certain things from her. I got a lot more love and affection from my father. And my mother was more the strict one. You got homework. We got to do the homework. We got to do this. And I hated it. I'm telling you, Coach. And when I mean I hated it. But it's those things that were instilled in me that I use right now that you don't realize being young what you need when you're older. I realize that now. At the point I didn't like it, but right now I thank my mother every day. Rest in peace, Mom, that she did that because I'm using those disciplinary things that she taught me in my life now to help me be successful and even be more successful right now in my life.
Yeah, it's big. And we see it in athletes too, Steve, right? Like, certain fighters will come to us or certain athletes and you can see. I have one who has a coach previously and his coach just from the beginning set a good fundamental base. Mm-hmm. And I think if you look at success of people in business or athletics, that fundamental base of when they were younger is there.
Yeah.
A mother, a father, whatever their support group was. And I think we're losing that a little bit today, I think.
Because times are changing.
We were talking outside, times are changing. Mm-hmm. But obviously, it sparked something in you. So now you're growing up, Trumbull, Southington area,
yep.
Right? What are you doing? You're playing sports, going to school. What now, we'll kind of jump it to as you get older, what are you leaning towards as aspirations now that you're growing? What's the young Steve Prohaska like growing up? Are you entrepreneurial at that point? Are you finding yourself? Is it a different direction?
Well, when I was a little boy, I always had the entrepreneurial spirit. I learned how to hustle when I was, selling candies, I played flag football after being adopted, and I would hustle candy bars. And that was when my mother really understood that I had a business sense. So I was trying to raise money for uniforms, selling candy bars for $1. I sold them for $3 to $4. And I'm a little boy coming home, $400, $500. You know what I mean? I'm thinking, I made it, I did it, boom, I'm going to be able to buy sneakers, I'm going to get some clothes. And my mother took that money away, and she said, you robbed people. And I said, I didn't rob them. I made the money. That's my money. But it was that situation that sort of geared my mother and father toward Steve has a knack or an instinct for business. And then that's when I started taking business classes in school. And it really multiplied when I graduated high school and I took business classes in college. And I aced them all. And then as far as the entrepreneurial spirit is, after I graduated college, I had the typical corporate job, but I wanted more. I wanted more money. So I actually graduated college in 2004. I went to Southern Connecticut State University. And then when I graduated, I moved to Danbury, a little apartment in Danbury, and I was working part-time as a bouncer at a nightclub in Tuxedo Junction. And it was at that time that I started learning from the nightclub owners, they're making a lot of money, they got nice cars, they got this. I got a college degree, I don't got a lot of money.
Right.
Things are different. So I'm just like, okay, so what happened? I absorbed everything. So one day working for them turned into 2 days. And remember, I was doing this part-time along with my full-time job. And it got to a point that I was making more money on my part-time job than I was at my full-time job. But here we go again, back to my mother and father. I was giving them money to invest for me. So I was making money from the nightclub stuff. I didn't spend it. I didn't go buy an expensive car. I still lived in a cheap little apartment in Danbury. I was actually in a lady's basement, to be honest with you, because I didn't have good credit. So I was living in the basement. I was just stacking my money, and the money I was stacking, I was investing. I was right out of college, so I was young. Here's $1,000. Where'd you get this from? I was working at the nightclub. Boom. I was, my job was paying my bills, and the nightclub was doing the extra, and I was trying to build that up because I didn't want to work forever. I said, working, this is not for me. I want money to make more money. So that's what I had to do. And then, like I said, one day turned to 2, turned into 3, turned into 4. And the gentleman that fired me, Mike Roviello, rest in peace, Mike, taught me a lot about the nightclub business. He fired me, and it wasn't until I think it was 7 or 8 years later I came back and I bought his percent out of the nightclub. And that's how I got into my serious first big business, being 50% owner of Tuxedo Junction with Al Cockamo. Shout out to Al. Appreciate and love you. And yeah, some great men. And I got into nightclub life, and that was the beginning of my journey of being a young nightclub owner.
So now you're in this lifestyle, right? What made you any different to be successful? Because look, now you guys are coming in, right? And now I grew up in a different generation when there were clubs all over New York. You know, you had the Tunnel, the Limelight, Studio 54s, Xenons. I mean, name them all, right? Now nightclubs are starting to dwindle down a little bit. The better ones are surviving, but there's not as many. What made you any different? Now you coming in, new blood. You already obviously worked there. How are you putting your twist? And, you know, what was your vision to make it better for not only as a business, but as a business owner?
Well, what I did, and it's funny you asked that, that's exactly one of the questions that was asked in the meeting when I met Al and Mike. So I was basically the business partner that actually became the promoter. So what happened was that instead of the promoters taking the door and keeping some of the profits of this and that, whatever, I would self-promote for us. And what happened was I'll give you an example. We didn't have a Latin night at the nightclub at that time. So I created a Latin night on Saturday nights. So that if you do that times, I was in the nightclub industry for 7 years, that's extra revenue for the nightclub, X amount of dollars every Saturday night, which we didn't have before. So I brought that to the table, and then I also self-funded certain rap shows on top of the Saturday nights that I had. So I brought in Saturday nights, now revenue coming in for the nightclub Saturday nights. I did rap shows, and then I also did, you know, Twisted Tuesdays, Beer Pong Wednesdays. I created ideas, and I created things to create money. And that's what I brought to the table. So I think I would be my creativeness and my ability to execute. So I would have an idea, I would execute it, and then if we made money, boom, there's my partner, here's my half. I was home with his family, I would run the nightclub, this and that, whatever. Things were secure. But I brought other new blood into the nightclub, different promoters, different people. I had people traveling throughout the whole state to come to the nightclub, which wasn't happening before I got into it.
You know, and you were fortunate because that was, you know, people who do remember Tuxedo Junction, it was a huge venue.
Yeah.
You know, as you drive by it, you don't see that venue went back deep into the building there.
Yeah.
And, you know, we're talking pre-internet, pre-Instagram, pre-Facebook. How do you feel if you had those options today? You're out there, you're doing the flyers, you're doing radio or whatever you're doing, you know, talking to town, all over the place, dropping. How do you think today you would fare? You know, now you got, you know, instant media right there.
Well, today it's a lot different. It's a lot more social media. That's why I think the nightclubs and the bars is more saturated, and then also people don't want to go out and spend as much money. I was able to be in a time where it was right before, and I saw the change. Kids wanted to party, but what was happening over the years from my experience is that kids would party at their home versus spending money at the club. They call it pre-gaming. So I had to make changes. So I would do different drink specials. I would do different prices. I would try to do, it's entertainment. I would have, working with Lance Galassi, I would do Girls Gone Wild. We would do rap shows. I even thought about, and I even tried bringing Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey Circus to the nightclub because I want to entertain the people.
Right.
Because if you entertain them, the people will come. But as time progressed and times change, like we talk about, not everyone has $10 to pay in to get into the nightclub and then pay for drinks on an average. Versus a big city like New York, Philly, LA, you pay $100 to get in, and they'll spend a couple $100 at the bar. In this area, unfortunately, it's not like that.
Yeah, I think in the bigger cities, it's the novelty of saying I went to this club or I went to this restaurant.
Yeah.
And now, you have more bottle service and exclusive VIP stuff where people want to be able to post up and say, oh, I was over here with this person or that person at this club.
Yeah.
So you're here. When did it start clicking that maybe you wanted to transition into other things? How did that come? You're in the nightclub, you make your run. Mm-hmm. When is it looking like that you're starting to move in a different direction? Or did it just happen on its own? Or
No. Well, so the nightclub business was going up and down. It was during the times, I want to say, I think my third year in, I noticed a change in just the overall, the kids coming in, the type of kids coming in. I met the young kid, Ian Bick, at a young age, and I saw a lot of potential in him as far as marketing ability. Spoke very well. And started working with him as far as doing team parties. Young phenom, just from the beginning, I knew he was going to be a star. And he started doing team parties at our place and did very well. To be honest with you, I thought the first one was going to be shit. I'm sorry, I can't curse, but
no, you can. Sorry.
And he blew us out of the water. The numbers were crazy, and he did the team parties, was doing well. He was creating a name for himself. So I went a different route with the nightclub a little bit just to try to offset it. But it was during that time I was also starting to think about I want to get into the entertainment life, whether it's the television or movie industry, because these promoters and these kids are bringing these big-time acts. So I'm like, how do I get into that field? And it was during that time that I created the TV show Single Fathers. But I wasn't able to film everything and fund everything myself because I had my money tied up into the nightclub and into the real estate that I had at that time. But I knew I wanted to go in that direction. So I would talk to certain people, certain managers, certain executives at record labels. Who do I need to talk to? Who's the one that could help me, put me in the right direction? And then it wasn't until 2017, 2016 that I really started pushing for that. I got out of the nightclub life in 2015, 14. And then I started pursuing that after being retired from the nightclub life for a little bit. And then once I got all the finances right to make that move, I filmed it this past summer. I hired a Hollywood production team, Hollywood director, filmed a little pilot, got everything together. And then now I'm actually in the process of trying to sell it and get it on the networks for the people to see.
You got 7 years tied up into this project.
The
idea starts.
Yeah.
But now we're here, and you obviously have put it down on film and as paper. But you're going 7 years.
So, to be honest with you, it might be almost 10 years. To be honest with you, I actually filmed a cheap pilot in 14 with different cell phone cameras with different fathers because I didn't know how to do certain things. And like I said, I had my finances tied up.
But now it's like, we look at stuff again. It's easy now.
Yeah.
2017, like you said, you're filming off a camera on your phone. And, but now it's a little easier. Where'd the idea come from?
The idea came from at the time when I was running the nightclub. I was a young father. Had my oldest son. At the time, he was, I want to say, 2 or 3 years old. And I was learning how to juggle being a business owner and a father. At that time, after my father passed, I let him stay with my mother because my mother helped me raise him while I was running both of my nightclubs and my businesses. But at that time, I realized I wanted to be a better father. And I went through my own trials and tribulations as a father running a nightclub. There was times I came home drunk, and my mother said to me one time when I was changing his diaper, she goes, "I can smell the alcohol on your breath. Do you think that's a good father? And do you think Dad would be proud of you?" And it clicked in my head. I had to change as a father if I wanted to be the best father for my son.
And that's a tough thing, that lifestyle. You're out there making money.
Yeah.
You're a single guy. You're young.
Mm-hmm.
Now you have a son, but you're in that lifestyle. It's late. They're girls, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
We get it, right? Now, once again, we go back. You have that base, that support group. Your mother to call you out and said, "Steve, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
She said it in a way that it hit me hard because I looked up to my father. I was raised by
They say it in a way that you know they're not trying to embarrass you. They're trying to make you aware of what's going on.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes that is the thing that hurts, not hurts, but makes people wake up.
Yeah.
Parents that yell and scream, you ain't gonna listen.
Whatever. No,
you're not gonna, right, you're right. I'm changing them, I'm going to bed.
Yep.
Screw you, right?
Yeah.
In a subtle way like that, now you're like, that sits with you now for a couple hours.
I'm telling you, Coach, the way she said that to me, I tell you right now, that from that day forward, I never came home smelling like liquor because I was, like I said, I was a young man. I could still operate while having alcohol in my breath, but it had the way she said it to me, and while my son was in front of me, I changed right then and there. Right then and there, because I wanted to live to the expectation of how great a father my father was and how I was raised. And it was during that time frame that I created, I came up with the idea for the Single Fathers TV show, and I wanted to broadcast that while I was changing to be a better father myself, and I wanted to be around fathers who were great fathers. But I had to learn that at that moment I was not a great father. A great father.
But you're a young man growing in to be a father.
Yeah.
Look, I don't think any of us, there's no course that tells us how to be fathers or mothers.
No.
You know, some are better than others, okay? No disrespect to anybody there.
Yeah.
But you know what? We all want to be good fathers.
Mm-hmm.
But there's no script. And we're going to make mistakes.
That's true. We all make mistakes, but you got to learn from your mistakes.
Exactly.
And there's a difference about talking about being a great father and actually doing it. That's where discipline comes into play. Do I stay out a little bit later even though I know I got to wake up early to be a father? Or do I handle my business at the nightclub, hurry up and run home and say goodnight to my kids? There's a balance, and it's different for every individual. What I'm saying is for all the fathers that are making that effort, that's what I love and that's what I respect. And to be honest with you, I almost have a distaste for men who are fathers that don't do that because it's hurting the child so much that they just don't see it. That damage that's done that you don't see right then and there, you're going to see that in the child maybe 5, 10, 20 years later based off of their actions.
Yeah.
Everything that I'm doing right now is based off of what my father did and did not do to me.
You learn what you live.
Yep.
You learn what you live. You know what? And look, as we spoke, I'm a little older coming out of a different generation. And everybody talks about single mothers. Mm-hmm. No disrespect.
Oh, yeah.
No disrespect to single mothers whatsoever. I think it's hard as a single parent either way. Mm-hmm. Either way to get up there and have to balance life, work, kids, athletic, whatever they're doing. Because today, as a parent, it's not like years ago. Our kids are involved in so many different things today, whether it's sports, you name it. There's different activities that they're involved. So if you're working and you're out there hustling 1 job, 2 job, it's a tough balance.
Yeah.
It's a tough balance to make. And honestly, I think, listen, my parents were always there, knock on wood. I think those memories of what your parents instilled on you as we get older, your kids are going to have the same thing with you.
I mean, I try to be honest with you, how my parents raised me, I'm a little different with my kids. What I think and how I see things is I want to take the best parts from my parents and implement that, and the stuff that I lost and or didn't have. I didn't grow up, my mother and father didn't give me a lot of hugs. They didn't say I love you a lot. So I tell my kids every day, I love you. You know what I mean? I'm proud of you. What can I do to be a better father to you? Or how can I be better to you? I listen to them. So like I say, I take the best from what my parents gave me. I give those to my kids, but I'm putting the extra sauce of the stuff that I missed, But don't get me wrong. I think about it right now. Sometimes, would my mother think about me right now, how I'm raising my son? For example, my oldest son has really great grades. I let him stay home from school today. Is that a bad father? I'm thinking, side note, I shouldn't have done that. The other guy's like, Steve, he's killing it in his school. He's ahead of all the other classmates. He's second honors. He's done everything I've asked him. You know what? I'm going to let that slide.
Well, you know what? Not only in kids, but in athletics and everything else, sometimes you got to kick them in the ass and sometimes you got to hug them. Mm-hmm. And you have to know the individual. Like when I'm coaching, you have to know their personality, what you can do, what their little triggers are. Some guys, they'll work every day. They don't care. They won't ask for a day off. Some guys, they need the day off.
Yeah.
But you know what? I think it's an acknowledgement.
Right.
It's an acknowledgement today. Hey, you were working hard. I'm going to throw you a bone today.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I did. And it's funny you say that. I don't feel like my parents ever threw me a bone. But like I said, they had different ways of parenting. Times were different then. I was in a different situation. But like I said, I use what they taught me and what I thought was the best, and that's what I put into my kids.
Well, you adapt. Like, look, coaching styles, parenting. As a coach, I adapt and look at what other coaches instilled in me, mm-hmm. and what I like. I like what Steve's doing over there. I'm going to try a little bit of that with this, and put my spin on it.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Yep.
And I think, as a parent and as a coach, we're managing personalities.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
You know what? You know your children, okay? So you know what their little triggers are, what you can, when you can push on them and when you can't. And not every kid or athlete is the same.
That's right.
Some kids you're going to push on, they're going to break.
Yep.
They're going to crumble. They're going to go back into their shell.
Yeah.
Some kids you can push on, and they're going to
rise
right
to the
back.
occasion. Yep.
Yeah. So you need to know what those little triggers are. And I think today, getting back to you said, your parents, the generation that I grew up in probably is similar to your parents.
Yeah.
The I love yous, the hugs, that real family love wasn't there. No. Not in a bad way, because parents did care.
They were working.
Today,
they were making sure the food, the house.
Today we're more open.
Yeah.
You got more therapists telling you, you should do this or be like this.
Yeah.
But, at the end of the day I think being around your kids and wanting to be part of their lives is, you brought kids into the world. You should want to be a part of their life.
Yeah, it's an important part, not only for the parents, but for the child's development. Like I said, shout out to all the great mothers and fathers out there that are trying their best, because that's what's different for the kids for when they get older. Like I said, from my book, I went into a family in a negative look on life, negative, the pain, the hurt. But I was blessed because my father still kept me. There was times my mother wanted to give me up for adoption because I was acting out as a young kid, and she didn't know how to deal with it as a mother. And it was my father that said, no, he just needs love. I'm doing stupid stuff, 7, 8. I'm stealing cars. I'm stealing stuff from stores.
Yeah, but you're coming out of a traumatic situation into a new country, new parents that are learning how to be parents also with you.
Yeah.
Look, I mean, it's if you didn't have that support, you're probably not
I'll be honest,
sitting here doing this.
No.
Because we hear those stories of, people being put up for adoption, people lose their parents. Not every story is a story of yours where we're seeing somebody who took a negative and turned it into a positive.
You're absolutely right. To be honest with you, if I didn't get adopted, I would be running a drug cartel in Colombia, or I'd be in prison, or I'd be dead. The only thing while I was being raised, my father asked me, the only thing he asked me, he never asked me of anything. He only asked me, don't ever run a cartel. That's what he asked me. Because I did have some inside knowledge on certain things, from where I'm from and what my, family was into when I was at a young age. But I feel like I owe it to my adopted parents, but I owe it to my family to be the best man, father I can be. Because if not, what was it for? Why did I get adopted if I'm not going to be the best man, businessman, father?
Yeah, but that is too, like, you know what? Yeah, I get that part, but that's inside of you.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, you can say you're doing it for this, but everybody says, "Oh, I'm going to do this for this one," and you know what? We see those stories fall short. Mm-hmm. Right? You got something inside of you that said
I have a different burning inside
that raised you up to say, "Hey, I'm here. This is what I want to do. I'm focused. I got a plan."
Yep.
All right. Yep. So now, like, what? Obviously, the book. Tell me how long of a process for this book, and obviously putting it together. It's not 20 pages.
No.
It's
no.
You know, and looking through it while we were talking, I mean, I really want to. Once I get into it, I'm sure it's going to be a fast read for me because it looks so interesting.
Mm-hmm. It's an inspirational book. I did everything. My team and I did everything in about 5 months. I started in September, so September, October, November, December, January. Yeah, about 5 to 6 months. I scrunched everything together. A lot of meetings. But the typical person would do a book maybe 2 to 3 years on average. But I was in a crunch because I wanted to get certain things done as soon as possible. Me, when I make a decision on something, I'm all in.
Right.
And I'm all in emotionally, financially, spiritually. I'm all in.
Right.
But I wanted to have a book not only to share my story, but my main thing was I wanted to bring hope to those that didn't have hope in situations, whether it's not having parents, not having finances, you don't know where you're going in life. Whatever your situation is, I want people to know that there is hope. And it's not going to be easy. There was times that I was crying for help for years, asking for God. All I want is an opportunity, and I'm going to do the best with my one opportunity. I don't always make the right decisions, but I'll tell you right now, everything that I actually do, whether it's what I eat, where I go to bed, what I do, I try to base it off is this the best for me, for my family? And that's pretty much it. And the book is, like I said, it's really close to me because I get into very detail. You'll learn what my mindset was at different stages in my life. But what you'll see is a consistency of I'm going to make it happen. I don't care where I'm at right now. I'm going to make it happen because I believe in myself. But I did have a great support system, and I use that to my advantage. Now the next step after the book is I did an internship now at my podcast, Parental Vision. The first student is actually my oldest son, Julian. So I'm testing the waters this year for him.
Give us where we can see that on what
you could go
platforms.
to parentalvision.com. We're all over social media: TikTok, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. But my goal was to teach my son certain skills that he needs in his life to be successful. And then my future goal is next year to have a few students, maybe 3 to 5 students, have an internship by my podcast to learn how to email correctly, how to make phone calls, how to follow up phone calls, how to schedule.
I like that.
Real life skills that will help them once they graduate high school and they enter the working force or they go to college. Because I remember when I was younger, typing like this.
Yeah, hunt and pack.
You know what I mean? Instead of learning how to really type to get things done quickly, because like we spoke about, times are changing.
But also with the social media, everything today, how your resume looks, how everything looks is very important.
Yes.
How you put stuff up on social media is important.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of these kids today, they don't realize if they're working for a company, their social media is under scrutiny.
That's right. That's right.
If you're out there doing dumb shit and you're working for a big corporation or a big company,
bye-bye.
See you later.
That's right.
Okay?
That's
or
right.
if you're looking to progress and say, I'm working for this company, but I'd rather be working for here, they're looking at your stuff.
That's right. Because that shows character and that shows who you are as a person.
What your associations with, who do you network with, and everything else. I think that's I love that idea because I think a lot of kids out there today aren't prepared. I know coming out of high school, I wasn't prepared for that.
Well, at least we're honest, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like going into college, you learned how to do a resume. Nobody prepared you. Even the business classes. Look, I took business classes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Some of the business classes were good, the formulas and everything, but nothing really prepares you to getting out there and being in, world skills. life skills, real life skills.
Well, this is what I like about the internship at the Parental Vision podcast that I have is that not only are the kids learning certain skills, they're learning how to speak to guests, speak to my team. I want them to understand how to look a man or a woman in the eyes, shake a hand correctly, make sure you're dressed appropriately. You got a nice collared shirt, nothing crazy written on your shirt or hoodie. No one's going to take you seriously if you do that, especially being a beginner in the workforce. So I'm trying to groom my son, and then next year it'll be a few students in the right pathway to that. Because like I said, I was able to have that from my father.
People, the reality of that comes down to you also. Mm-hmm. You're going to sit in a room with a couple of kids, and they can relate to what you're saying.
Yeah.
It's not bullshit. Hey, I started here. This is what I did.
Yeah,
This is what I did, right? These are the mistakes I made. This is what I think I could have did better. Mm-hmm. Okay, this is where I am today.
Yeah. I mean, they'll see that. Based off of the book, if they want to ask questions, I could talk a little bit about it. But you're absolutely right. I can relate to it. I was a little punk as a young kid. But as I grew up and being raised by my mother and father, I learned that to be clean cut, clean shaven. Right. I was a kid. I used to have the earrings. I used to at Nightclub. I had the jewelry.
We all go through that, right?
But I realized that's not really the winner. And as you move up in certain tax brackets, you'll realize they're more cleaner and they wear less. But people don't realize their pockets are bigger. So what I want to teach the kids is that they can be clean. They have the skills that they need. Whether it's just writing, just how to write a letter. Do they even know how to write the letter?
No, they don't.
How you write it. How you write an email. You do have to have a subject in the email. You do understand that, right? Because if they want to do something big, go after a big contract, you need to know how to read and write. You need to know how to present yourself. You need to know how to speak in a professional manner, but also listen, And I get excited about that because my father and my mother, they did that to me. And I'm working on that with my oldest son because he wants to grow out his, the bangs, this and that, whatever. But
listen, everybody has their expression that they want to express themselves today, of style and fashion. You know what? I think if it's done, tastefully, you got to express yourself a little bit in the right way.
But you got to have that balance.
Yes.
You need to understand, listen, I got to be clean cut.
I agree.
If I want to be in this field, I'm going to have to do certain things. If I dress this way, they're going to look me at this way, whether they tell you or not. You're going to be prejudged.
You're going to be judged, 100%.
I'm not saying that it's right to judge people, but it's automatic.
It's there.
But I just want the kids to start off on the right foot before they even get in the door, and then at least have the skills so when they get in the door to at least do their best. That's all I want, and that's what brings me joy inside.
Yeah, that's good. You're giving them the playbook to the game already.
Yeah, just a little bit.
That's it. So, look, I'm really I like a lot of the things you're doing, motivating.
Thank you.
Do you see yourself being a motivational speaker? With all of this stuff going on, and I know you're telling your story roundabout, do you see yourself standing up in front of people and say, here, this is...
It's funny you said that because I actually get enjoyment from doing that. I would love to be a motivational speaker, and my team and I, shout out to Lance Galassi, we're actually working on things like that to open up me speaking for an audience with certain icons already. Right now, I'm doing that at a smaller level and talking about my story. But yes, I would love to do that. And like I said, that brings me joy, sharing my story to help motivate others. And then when they're motivated, guide them in a way. You know what I mean? Because my father guided me. I already had the motivation inside. He just guided me.
Well, you're staying. So let's stay on that motivation thing for a second. Obviously, you're doing all of this on your own. You're trying to get some help and get some, gain some headway here with sponsors and everything else. You're financing this whole thing on your own from, all your hard work, all your investments, everything you've put into this is in this. How are you staying motivated? Because I know every day, there are days we don't want to get up.
Oh, my
There are
gosh.
days that we look and we say, what the hell am I doing?
You're absolutely right, Coach.
So
You're absolutely right.
how, and I'm sure, we're seeing the end result here.
Yes.
We're seeing the end result of single fathers, but I'm sure in between that time, there were setbacks. There were times.
My God.
How are you navigating through that?
To be honest with you, I have deep conversations with my brother Lance. But what I've realized is that I have ideas and goals, and I just stick to it. There are days that, to be honest with you, I'm saying, forget about this. I put a lot of money and time and effort into this project. My podcast, I've put in close to $100,000+. I haven't seen $1 return yet. But I know when I get to my goal, it's going to be times 10.
Right.
But I have to say the discipline keeps me going, but I have to stay positive. Because what people don't understand is that it's negative. It's all those punches. It builds you up, sort of a speak, but you have to have the mindset to be able to take that. That's something you can't teach.
Right, that's inside of you.
That's inside of you. So for me, it's just the perseverance. I want to win more than how I feel bad or I'm down. So I'm the type of guy, if my foot, I remember training with Fernelli, I had blister on my foot, whatever, we're going. It's bleeding, whatever, we're going. Yeah. Dag, I can't even feel my shoulder, whatever. Yeah. I can't put my hands up.
Nobody
I'm gonna
cares,
give the shoulders.
work harder. Nobody cares.
No one cares that I'm upset or I lost today on Monday and Tuesday or I had to fire this person or change this or whatever. All they're gonna say is, did you win? And then that's that. But see, you only get that by the time this comes out, you didn't see the work. And that's okay. But what I'm saying is that...
We talked about this on a previous podcast with Dominic Lombardozzi.
Oh, yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
Nobody sees the work you guys put in.
No.
Or whether it's an athlete, an actor, a businessman. Everybody sees this.
Yep.
Everybody sees the film.
Yep.
Nobody sees the hours that maybe you're not sleeping.
The stress.
The stress.
Juggling the kids, the job.
Yep. Money might be short.
Yep.
When's the next dollar coming in? Hey, I'm a little tight today. My son needs to go to school or whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
Nobody sees the days that you don't want to go to work, that you're not motivated to do all this stuff. They just say, oh, man. But we're back to your story, single fathers. You're 7, 8 years into it.
Yeah.
With no return.
No return.
I mean, you're resilient. But from your story, your whole life is resilience.
But see, that's where I think I separate myself from everybody else. My father used to say, if you can't stand the heat, get out of the kitchen, sort of a speak.
Right.
And I looked at that differently because I responded to my father. I was raised in the kitchen. I was raised in the heat. And it's psychologically different, but all the entrepreneurs out there and business people and certain athletes, you have to be a little bit sick, to be honest with you, about perseverance and going after a goal, training when you're hurt, you're tired, whatever. You have to actually be a different, I'm not going to say have a few marbles loose upstairs, but I'll be honest with you, some people would say, yo, Steve, you're stupid for doing this, or you're stupid. That's fine, whatever. They said that to Albert Einstein, and they said that to this, athlete. They said that to this person. Well, look at them. See, the difference is that they just continued one more day. Me, I try to take it day by day, because if I win today, boom, tomorrow I'm going to wake up. I'm going to win tomorrow. And those little battles are going to add up over time. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I love that attitude in people and athletes. Tell me I can't do something.
Yeah.
Just tell me I can't do it. I'm going to work harder.
That's
because, look, I was never I played ball. I was a good athlete. I had to work for everything. I was not a gifted natural talent in anything.
Yeah.
I was a grinder.
That's it.
I was an acquired taste. You had to watch me over and over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what? I love that attitude, because you know what? The 1%ers of the world, the Jordans, the Tiger Woods,
yeah,
Kobe's, Derek Jeters, they can do it no matter what.
And it's funny you say that, but a lot of people don't realize a lot of sacrifice, a lot of the hard work that those guys are putting in, training several times a day, traveling, eating the right foods. They're not always there for the birthdays. They're not always there with their loved ones. But I'm telling you right now, when they're not with their families, they're going 110%. To bring us back to what I do, when I'm not with my kids, I'm going 110%.
Yeah, you're busy.
You know,
I mean,
but see,
I watch you on social media. You're not a guy who sits down.
No.
Like I look at a lot of your stuff and I see you're not posting up pictures of you sitting on a beach anywhere.
No.
Having drinks and parties like that. It's all business with you.
But see, I learned that during the nightclub life. I watched other people partying, and it was my mother that asked me, I go, Steve, did you ever ask all the people, what are they celebrating? And I really sat back and I thought, I go, holy shit, what are you celebrating? Did you buy a house? Because I was talking about real estate 15, 20 years ago. Well, now everyone's trying to fix their credit. Now they're trying to get into the real estate game. I was talking about that 15, 20 years ago. But it stuck out in my head, what are they celebrating? So what I did is I became married to my grind, and I became in love with that rather than just the result. So that's why I'm going to do the book project. The next thing is I'm going to try to set up a movie. I'm going to do the TV show deal. I got a lot of projects lined up that I want to set up and I want to get done and get certain things out to the public.
Right.
And then also show my kids via my actions, whatever they want in their life, you can go after and get. No, it doesn't even matter if someone says you can't do that. That's their opinion of you, But like you said, I had a great support system from my mother and father. They supported me on whatever I wanted to do, But don't get me wrong. We had conversations. Steve, I don't advise you to do that. That's not smart.
Listen, that's what everything. At the end of the day, our parents are gonna look out for us. They're gonna say, maybe, that's not for me, or not for you. But you got to make a gut call.
Yeah.
You got to make. Obviously, your parents also did one thing with you, was to teach you to be smart with money at a young age.
Yes.
Now, I mean,
yes.
Look, we've all been in out.
Mm-hmm.
That easy money, the flash, it's great. Everybody likes that lifestyle, right?
Yep.
They want to, but you took it and you said, okay, I'm going to be a little smart with it.
Yes.
If you didn't have that upbringing, maybe you're not sitting here today.
Yeah.
You're funding your own project.
Yeah.
You're not going to people, beg, borrow, and steal.
No.
Right now. You're saying, hey, I got skin in the game here. You want to join me on this journey? I like that. I think that's very important today with kids growing up and people growing up, because, not everybody is taught how to handle money or success and what they should do.
I mean, I was, like you said, I was raised really well as far as financial literacy with my mother and father. But the most thing that I really took is that not only do you have to work for money, you have to learn what to do with money. And people learn that along the way of making money. And then there's this little thing called life that's thrown in there in the equation, and that's where things get messed up. But it brings us to the word discipline. For example, I had an energy drink this morning. Could I afford the energy drink? Yes. Is it smart that I'm drinking the energy drink? No. But I made a conscious decision. Okay, that's what I'm doing right now. People get lost in that on their way to doing things, and then what happens, it just becomes on autopilot. So a mother or father has a 9-to-5 job, but they want to do something else. Listen, go home after your 9-to-5, work on your dream an hour. Do that a little bit. Save $1. You making $700 a week? Save $200 a week. Put away $50. That's it. Nothing crazy. Start off little. You can't go from 0 to 10 snap of a finger. It's not going to happen.
That's old school. My parents would say the same thing. My mother, I could hear it today. Put a couple dollars away. It don't have to be a lot.
That's
but
right.
Put something away for
for
a rainy day.
And it's the consistency of that it builds up. Well, guess what, Coach? I did that for 30 years. Now what I'm doing is I'm doing the money that I've made from that, I'm putting into certain investments, and now I'm waiting to leverage those investments so then I can do other things for more cash flow for my unborn grandkids.
Right.
So then it gives them more choices.
Yeah, you're looking to keep generational money.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Yes. I'm thinking, the stuff I'm doing, I'm thinking 15 years down the road.
You're not only thinking for today, you're thinking for your children, your grandchildren, setting them up.
Yep.
And that's smart.
Yes.
So your son now, what are some of the messages and challenges you have with your son now? Because obviously he sees what you're doing.
Yeah.
Is he, father and son, we go at each other once in a while. Is he buying into you? Is he his own person with his own ideas on how to make this better? Does he want to go the path of what you're doing?
Well, I have two sons. I have an older son, Julian, who's 16. He'll be 17 in August. He lives with me full time. And then I have my little son, Bebe, who's 12. He'll be 13 the end of this month. They both have their individual things that they want to do, their individual goals. So when I speak to my kids, we talk about individual goals, and then we talk about family goals, and then we talk about fantasies, aka whatever they want to do and or become or do in their life. So for my little son right now, he just loves school. He loves absorbing everything.
Yeah.
He pays attention to how I move. I sell this book for this amount, or I'm doing this stock trade over here, or I want to buy a building. He's absorbing everything. He is now at a place in his life that he understands why he has to get good grades, because he goes, if I learn this, then I can be better over here. So, for example, I was at the barbershop the other day. He knows that I have a book. He asked me, he goes, Dad, can you give me 4 of your books? I'm going to sell them. So, Dad, is it the same price for your signature in the book versus a book that's bought just online, Dad? I go, wow, look at this boy. I go, it's a little bit more money to have my signature on the book. He goes, all right, Dad, I'm going to need 4 of those. And then how much money do I got to sell them for? It's the drive. It's the eagerness to want to learn. That's what I'm guiding, just like my father. So what I'll do is I'll give him the book. It's not necessarily about the book for my son. It's about the thought on that. Right. Because if you trade the book in for another product or service, he'll know how to market it, sell it, and do whatever. And that's part of being successful in business, being a good salesman. So that's my little son. My oldest son, he's at a stage right now in his life that he understands running a crew, meaning a business that you have workers, you have people that do certain jobs, you pay certain people X amount of dollars. But now what he wants to understand is how does all that work? Not only having a staff, you have to take care of the bills of the business. Then you have to manage the bills of the business while managing the staff at the same time. And then you put in your own sauce on it to make it go big. So this is why I have the internship, so he can see the podcast studio here. There's lights, there's cameras, there's a table, there's a chair. Is your chair broken? Is it fixed? All that's happening behind the scenes. And that's what he's now being introduced to. And I want to paint the whole picture for him so he can make right decisions with all the knowledge.
Right. Gets an idea of what it really costs to operate.
Yep. And then my goal with the oldest one is that, like I said, we're doing an internship this year. Next year, half of the school year will be a paid internship. And then I want him to work a low-end job, whatever it may be, whether it's I'm not saying construction or, restaurant stuff, but a hard job that every dollar you're sweating yourself for. And the reason why is because if he has a horrible job, he'll understand and respect a business a little bit differently. And that's not what I had when I was a young man. I went straight to college right after high school. I shouldn't have gone to college, Coach, to be honest with you. I messed around. I was playing foosball. I was playing video games. I didn't care about college. It wasn't until a few years after that I realized, dag, I need to have more of a degree to get more money. That was the time it hit me that I needed college. And that's where if my mother was alive, she would have been like, Steve, graduate high school, go to the working force for a couple years, and then understand why you need education.
See, the other thing is, look, I see a lot of kids, we talk about this. Okay, there's a fit for everybody out there today. Mm-hmm. You said college not for you.
No.
There's community college. If you're working, go to community college, get your feet wet.
Yep.
There's trade schools. There's vocational schools.
You're right.
There's everything out there to get you better. You're not going to survive today. Kids are not going to survive with a high school degree.
No.
Those days are over.
That's gone.
Those days are over. I mean, years ago when I was growing up, if your father was in the union or had a contracting business or a restaurant, you were able to have no degree, walk into something and make a good wage.
Yeah.
Those days are done.
You need
to have some sort of education.
So, I mean, my kids are, like I said, they're both honors in school. What I want now for them is real life experience.
Yeah, that's big.
So I keep them close to me. I tell them the things that I'm doing, what moves I'm trying to do and what I'm trying to get out of it. They don't need to know all the details. They're too young to understand that. But it's getting the wheels turning in their brains. You know what I'm saying? Dad has to go do an interview. Dad has to go do this with the meeting for a book. Dad has to go meet with this for the TV show. Dad has to go take care of this for the podcast. Dad has to go meet with the finance advisor for the housing and stuff like that and, saving money, this and that, whatever. So they're learning it. I just want to introduce them to it so it starts playing in their head while they're at school so they understand why they need the education. And that's a connection that I really didn't have because, like I said, I was raised, my parents were doctors. They expected, go to school, get smart, get great grades, be a doctor. Right. That's not me. No. And like you said, a kid could be in high school, and it's okay to be a plumber and electrician. They make great money, but it's a personality. And for me, that's why it was friction between my parents. And I don't know if my mother resented me because I didn't become a doctor, but my father understood that. And that's why I went the entrepreneur route, you know what I'm saying, having different types of businesses and what kind of businesses. They brought out certain skills that I had naturally and that I love doing. And that's one of the things I want for my kids. But I want them to make that decision with the knowledge that they have. Like, example, my little son, he's like, Dad, I want to go to college. I go, this is great. This is great. But I do know over time, his decision might change. And that's okay. But as long as he has the skills and the knowledge, right, and some life experiences, that he can make a decision that he wants that's best for him. And that's what the beautiful thing is. And to be honest with you, that's what I love, and I can't wait to show the internship and have other kids have that taste at the Parental Vision podcast, just to learn, even if it's not about podcasts, learn about the cameras, learn about the microphones. You might not know. They might begin to enjoy something that becomes a passion, and they go pursue that. Dag, I learned all this. This is fun. You tell me I can get paid for this? Well, yeah, over time.
Well, I think they got to learn everything is not glitz and glamour.
That's right. That's right.
There's a cost to doing business. There's a cost of, and like you go back to your younger son taking the books, you got to understand, right? Like, okay, no problem. You could have the book, but the company gets X amount back for the book.
That's right.
They're not just going to the box, take them, and you sell them, and it's yours because, Dad owns the company. And I think there's a lot of disillusionment with that. So a little fast forward here now. What are some of the other things you're looking to work on besides your show, the book? Is there anything else, or are you straight up focused into single fathers, your book, your podcast?
So the last thing that I want to do after I do my TV show and the book and then the podcast is blowing up is I want to have a talk show. I can't go into exact details, but I'm gonna have. I would like to have a certain talk show that talks about certain things, and then to be honest with you, other than that, is just maybe create a mentorship program. I'm gonna try and get into either building an orphanage or donating to an orphanage to help some of the young girls and boys that don't have parents, at least get some of the essentials that they need so they can start life with a right foot. Because I know what it's like to start life with nothing and then have an opportunity and taking it to the sky. Yeah. That's how I'm going to give back. My brother's doing the same thing. I don't know whether he's going to do it out of the country, but I want to do it in Connecticut. Maybe, I don't know if it's in Bristol or Hartford or somewhere in Connecticut. But whether it's donations or I build an orphanage that helps with the community as far as the kids and give them certain resources and the things that they need so they can be successful, then I've done everything I planned out to do. And that's me giving back tenfold. And not just giving back, is having the other kids have an opportunity that wouldn't have an opportunity. Yeah. And then whatever they do with it, I can sit back and that just brings joy to my heart. I see it right now. I can see the next kid have an opportunity that didn't have it. That boy or girl is gonna go 110%.
Yeah. Well, you know what? You're a good role model for that, and I think that's important too. When you put your name on something, like we were talking before, you walk the walk and talk the talk.
That's it.
You know what I mean? You're the real deal there. So it's like, I I think a lot of people could benefit from your story and what you've done. You know, definitely motivational there.
Well, I'm working towards that, but in the meantime, everyone can go pre-order my book at BigSteveBigMoves.com. Sign up, pre-order, order your copy. Let me know what you think. You can follow me on all platforms. I'm on TikTok, Big Steve Big Moves, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. And then let me know what you think, and hopefully I can inspire a lot of people out there to be the best they can be.
So what we're going to do, too, here is drop me some comments on YouTube, and we're going to give away one of Steve's books, okay? And then I'd love to talk about it a little bit with you after I read it.
Of course.
But we kind of end up here with a couple of different things where I ask you a couple of questions here.
Sure. Hot seat. Let's go.
All right, we're going to put you right on the spot here. All right? We're going to put 3 dinner guests with you. Pick your 3 dinner guests. Anybody. Alive, dead. Doesn't matter.
My birth mother. It's got only 3.
3.
My birth mother, my adopted mother, Donald Trump.
Okay. I like that one. You get to be in a foxhole with somebody. Who's that one person you're in a foxhole with?
Ja.
Okay. I like the way you come back with that pretty quick.
I knew.
You knew.
Snap of a finger.
And you knew what a foxhole was. That's even bigger.
I already know.
I'm not going to say about someone didn't know who a foxhole was. We'll talk about it after. Well, listen, Steve, I appreciate you coming on, man.
Thank you,
Great.
Coach. Thank you for having me.
Once again, go out, look, and get this book, my guy, Big Steve here from Orphan to Millionaire. Look at his podcast, Single Fathers. Give it a look. He's coming out with his show soon. Give him a follow. This is a great story here. I want to shout out my guys at Bruno's for the sweatshirt and my guys at Club 93 for the hat. And we'll see you again on Coach's Corner. Thank you.